Hi everyone and welcome back to the Crafty Yellow Camper, and today I've got a card for you using some elements of the Spotlight on Nature and the dies that coordinate with the stamp set. I've also used the Thoughtful Journey 6x6 papers. These are they coordinate with the Thoughtful Journey stamp set and dies, and they're an online exclusive, but they are gorgeous. We did have some very similar papers in the last year's Christmas autumn winter catalogue, I think it was, and I used those loads. I mean, they're sort of like a watercolour painting, but they are beautiful. So if you haven't seen them before, you can pop on and have a look on the online exclusive section on the Stampin' Up website, and you'll find all the details there. Okay, so the card we're going to make today uses 2 sheets. Well, one and a very tiny bit. So this is the stamp set. First of all, it's got this gorgeous sort of, they're sort of like tulips, I suppose. A lovely butterfly, love a butterfly, and these really nice leaves. And then there is this sort of textured, almost like Hessian stamp. And we've got Dear Friend for sentiments and thanks. And then there's this lovely little splatter stamp, I should say. Now, I do love a splatter stamps. They're really great. So things like these textured ones are really good for one sheet wonders for filling in gaps and bits and pieces like that. So for today, we're not actually using these images. I'm using the little splatter stamp and the sentiment Dear Friend. So let's get started. So it uses the dies, 2 sizes of the circle dies, and you can see I haven't actually written anything in the middle because, or stamped anything in the middle, because that's where I'm going to write. And I haven't, you could stamp a sentiment in there, but I haven't because I don't know who the recipient of this card is going to be yet. And it might be a birthday card, but it might not be a birthday card. So anyway, let's put that to one side and let's get started, and I'll talk you through how I made it. Okay, so first of all, I've got a card base, and this is half of a A4 sheet of boho blue. If you're not in the UK and you have a letterhead size, then obviously half your sheet will work the same. Okay, and it's scored in the middle, which gives us a card blank that is 14.8 by that way by 10.5 that way. Now we're going to trim a bit off the front. So what I want to be left with is a section on the front that is 7 centimeters. So what I'm going to do is put my card into the trimmer. There's our 7 centimeter mark, and that's what I want to be left with. So if I take, now how did I do this? How did I do this? I know what to do. Right, sorry, excuse me, it's been a long day. So we want 7 centimeters left, and we know that this is 14.8 long. Okay, so if we take 7 off 14.8, then that is 7.8. I'm impressed at my maths. Okay, so what we need to do is put this at 7.8, like that. Chop off a piece, and this piece we'll be left with is 7 centimeters. Okay, this piece you can just put to one side. We're not going to do anything with that. Okay, right, so the next thing we're going to do is cut our papers. Now I've chosen these. So in that pack of papers, and most of our 6x6 papers, to be fair, you get 4 of each design. You get a lot of papers actually in those packs. I don't remember, I think it's 48 sheets. Yeah, 48 sheets, and it's usually whatever that is divided by 4. 12 designs? Anyway, so we're going to use this one today. So the first thing I need to do is cut down the piece of paper that's going to go in here. So we know that this piece here is 14.8 by 10.5. So what I'm going to do is cut my papers down to 10, and obviously it's landscape, so make sure you cut your papers the right way around. So we want our length, and I'm about to do it wrong. We want our depth rather to be 10. No, I'm not about to do it wrong. And we want our length to be 14.3. So I'm going to cut the 10 first, which means that we're then left with the entire width on the bottom here, which we can use for something else. And then I'm going to cut this down to 14.3. Now, because this piece of paper's got a bit of a pattern each side, I really don't want to trim just a chunk off one side. So I'm just having a quick measure. Oh, actually, it tells me on the back of the packet how big the sheets are. So they're 6 by 6 inches or 15.2 square. So I need to take this down to 14.3. So if I take 14.3 of 15.2, that gives us 0.9. If I divide that in half, that's 0.4. So if I trim, that's 0.5. So if I trim a little tiny sliver off that side there, and we should not take too much off the other side. When we line it up, there we go, line it up at our 14.3. So sometimes we do have to do a little bit of maths. Sometimes we can just lob a bit off the end, but I want that equal. So that is going to be our piece that fits inside the card there. And then we need a piece for this section at the front. Now, what I want to do, and this is why I'm using 2 sheets of paper. Firstly, the bit that we've cut off is nowhere near big enough to go on there. But what I want is for this to match up. So if you always cut from the left-hand side or the right-hand side, but do it the same every time, then it should line up. So I'm left-handed, so I'm going to cut from the left. Now, I know that we've taken a sliver off that, but I think it will be okay. So this is 7 centimetres wide by 10 centimetres deep. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to take my width first. So this is 7 centimetres wide, so we're going to cut it at 6.5 this time, and that's because I don't want to chop straight across that piece, because I can save that for something else. And then I'm going to cut it down to our 10, and then that will fit on there, and then you can see the pattern is more or less the same. And I always keep all these little bits and pieces because you never know when they're going to come in handy. So if you'll excuse me for just a second, I'm going to pop those bits in my packet so I don't lose them and they don't get screwed up. I've just realised I have screwed up another piece that I've slid in there. There we go. Okay, so that's those nice and neatly put away. Okay, so now we can get rid of our trimmer. Let's put that out of the way and bring back in our cards. So the first thing I'm going to do is stick this down, and I'm going to use a bit of Tombow. I think I did say that my base card is boho blue, but in case I didn't, it's boho blue, and that's one of the colours that's in these papers. I like the fact that Stampin' Up! Give us the colours on the back of the pack so that we can coordinate them. Okay, now this piece is going to go on here. So it's really important that you don't just open out the card and stick it there, because then it's not going to work. Okay, so this piece needs to go on here. So I'm going to flip that over. And again, Tombow gives us a little bit of wiggle room. And that piece is going to go on here. So, but I do want to make sure, glue on there now. I do want to make sure it's level with the other piece we've got, because nothing would look worse than this line along here or this line along here not lining up. So I think that's pretty good. Okay, so that's our card base. So I'm going to put this to one side, and I'm going to show you the dies that come with this stamp set. So there aren't any dies that cut out these flowers. If you want to cut these out and the butterfly and leaves, they're going to have to be fussy cut. But what you do get is all of these So there are 3 designs. There's this sort of almost like a fleur-de-lis, but not quite. This sort of starburst, and there is the dotted lines. And what you've got is those 3 patterns in different sizes. So I have used the dotted lines. So I've used, this is the biggest dotted line. And then I've used the next dotted line down, which is smaller. And if I did want to go smaller, there's another dotted line and yet another. Oh, can't get it off. And yet another dotted line. So I could go down like that. Okay, I sort of feel like they've missed a trick, not having one there, but you know, it's fine. So I've used these 2. Let me just pop these ones back. Now the reason they're on separate pieces of card is because they're different sizes. Okay, and then obviously you've got the same in the others. So this is the biggest one in the 3, like little tiny almost fleur-de-lis, and that is the same size as that starburst or sunburst, whatever you like to call it. So that goes with that one, and then you've then got this one that is the smaller one, and then that one again. So that's the 4 sizes in those. So each set has got 4 sizes, and then obviously the starburst one, you've got this big one, then it goes down to this one, and then this one, and then this little tiny dinky one in the middle. So you've got lots and lots and lots of options that you can do in lots of different sizes, which is great. Okay, so I'm going to pop those away now so I don't lose them. So I've gone ahead and I've die cut my circles just to save a bit of time on my videos, so you don't have to listen to me rambling on while I'm away from my desk cutting things. So what I've done is I've cut a boho blue circle and a white circle, and we need 2 sets of these. So I've got another one here and another one here. Okay, I got in a muddle and cut an extra set because I thought I hadn't cut enough. So somebody in one of my classes is going to be having a win-win, aren't they? Right, so what we're going to do is that one of them is going to have our sentiment on, the other one is going to be plain. So if I bring back in the card I've already done. So this one's got our dear friend sentiment on it, and I've used the splatter stamp there. And then the one inside I've just done the splatter stamp, and I've tried to get it at the same angle. So if we do the dear friend, here's my boho blue ink pad. Now stamp them before you glue them together, because if you make a mistake you've wasted the backing circles. Right, so here's my dear friend. Now again, as I always say on my videos, with these thin stamps it's really easy to pick up ink on the edge of the red rubber, and then you end up with the halo effect, which we don't really want. So just tap tap tap, turn it over, check you've got ink on all of the stamp, which we have, and then just gently down and up, don't wobble it. Okay, and then I've got this little tiny splatter stamp, and we're just going to put a little bit there and a little bit up there on that one, and then on this one we're going to do the same thing, but obviously no sentiment in the middle because that's where I'm going to do my writing. So let's get this ink pad out of the way. Okay, and then what we've got to do is layer these up. So I'm going to stick them together with Tombow. You could put some dimensionals on if you wanted to, but obviously that would make this card a bit more bulky, which if you need to post it is not great. Okay, and I'm just going to try and line that up centrally. Now obviously the good thing with circles is if that was a little bit on the wonk, I could tip it. Always good. Okay, and then this one we're going to do exactly the same. And what I want to do on this one is when this is inside the card, I want to have my splatters in the same position. So it's a good idea just to try and do that now. If it's not quite right, obviously we can jiggle it about. So that's why this one is going in the middle of the card first. Just a bit of Tombow on the back again. And then what I'm going to do is bring my card over, and this is going in the middle. And I want my splatters. I'm just eyeballing it. If you want to measure it, then feel free. Okay, and then this one is going to go over the top, but you need to line it up so that you can't see the one underneath. And that's where this die comes in really handy, because you can see it's lined up and I can see right through to the paper underneath. So we only need glue on what is this right hand side when we turn it over, and that will be our left hand side when we stick it onto the flap. Okay. And then obviously we need to make sure it's level and lined up with our other disc, which is underneath. Okay, and there's our finished card. So I must just say that I was inspired to make this by a card that I saw on the Stampin' Up! Demonstrator website, which was made by one of our artisan design team. And I'm afraid to say that I forgot to write her name down. So if you made this card originally, I'm very sorry that I cannot find your name. I went back onto the demonstrator website to try and find the card, but unfortunately, because it's so busy with demonstrators from around the world, the feed moves so quickly I couldn't find it. But as I said, if it was you that designed this card originally, thank you for the inspiration, and I hope you're happy with the fact that I've copied and shared it. And I'm so sorry I can't recall your name. Okay, so there's our two cards that we've made. Now, the thing I liked about using these papers was that this card could be for a man or a woman. And obviously, if you wanted to give it to a lady, you could add some gems to it. I don't know who these are going to yet, so I'm going to leave them plain. Okay, so hope you'll give it a go. And again, apologies for the lady that designed this originally. I will try and find your name and credit you on my Facebook page if I can find it. So thanks for watching, and I hope you give the card a try, and I'll see you all again soon. Happy stamping, and bye for now.